Sergey and Robert. 5 years ago, we quit our jobs, sold our house and all of our possessions, and began living the dream of traveling the world with only backpacks on our backs. After flying over 300,000 miles and visiting 82 countries, COVID brought us to a screeching halt. True to our fashion, we improvised and bought a brand new van and built it out in just 6 weeks to explore the United States until international travel opens up.
The crazy thing about our lifestyle is we were in Laos 3 years ago, was it?
Right.
3 years
Do you remember
ago.
the city? I don't remember.
What was the city in Laos?
If you want, I can tell you the date
Oh,
and
the
the
date
city.
too.
I want to say Savannah-Ket.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't recall. I'm not good at remembering.
But
the
this is
names,
where we
so-
picked up the motorcycles. Anyways, before we get into this story, our lifestyle lends to this. So we met Scott Sherrick. Am I saying your last name correctly?
Absolutely.
3 years ago in Laos when we were traveling through there, and we have been in contact ever since via Facebook, and that's the great thing about modern technology now. And so we become friends that way over time, and we know about each other's lives.
Well, and he's a rock star, so you'll see in a few minutes why.
So we just happen to, because I'm following him and he's following us, we have been in kind of the same area for a period of time, and we just now have only been 2.5 hours away, and it's like, how can we not see each other again when we're only 2.5 hours apart, right?
Yeah.
So we got to make this happen.
And we thought it was going to happen in India
We
or
did.
someplace over there. but-
Right.
Right.
Because we met you in Laos, and you have been traveling the world on your bicycle for how many years?
I started March of 2018.
Yeah, ridiculous. And how many miles have you put on?
Just under 27,000. But part of that was 15 months of pandemic.
Yeah.
So I didn't ride.
Right. So the reason you're back in the United States is because of the pandemic.
Correct.
And why is that?
Because the next part of my trip, I ended up back in Cambodia March 1st of 2020. And I used to live there for 3 years before I started my ride. And I was going to stay there for a month to visit, and I needed to get a new passport because mine was full.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit.
Yep.
So I stayed there, but the next part of my trip was going to take me China, Mongolia to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And the borders just, even now, aren't open. And for the next year or so, they're not going to be open. So this part of the trip for the U.S., I had planned to do maybe 3 years in the future, but I'll do it now.
Okay.
And then wait for the borders to open around the world, and then go and continue that part of the trip.
So while you're in the United States, though, your plan is to hit every national park in the United States
In the lower 48 states,
on a bicycle.
on a bicycle.
In the lower
So,
48.
but how about Alaska?
Who cares? Actually, because the way the trip was planned, I would have done China, Mongolia to Europe, then Cairo to Cape Town, and then I would have come to do the U.S.
Okay.
And I would have done the national parks. This was planned for like 5 years. Then I would probably fly to Hawaii. I used to live there for 10 years.
Okay.
Ride a little bit, and then fly to Alaska, and do Alaska to Patagonia. And then that would be the end of the trip.
Yeah.
So Alaska would still be, but the national parks, they're too hard. You can't even drive to some of them.
No,
Right,
I know.
right, that's true.
Yeah, exactly. And what all started this for you, if I remember our conversation back in Laos, and we just happened to meet each other because we were sitting next to each other in a restaurant.
At the guest house.
And as you do when you're traveling, you're listening for your language to have conversation with other people too. And you were sitting next to us, and you leaned over and you asked us where we were from. We lied and told him we were from Canada, which he brought up today. But you said you started biking because you had a stroke, right?
Well, I always liked biking, and I crossed the country back in 1990 and did the East Coast in 2003. And in Cambodia, when I lived there, I had a stroke.
Yeah.
Got flown to Bangkok, and obviously everything came out okay. But I knew I needed to be more healthy, and so Cambodia is very hot, and I didn't have a bicycle at that point, but I bought a bike. And the first day out on the bike, it's like, oh, now I'm in trouble. because I have nothing holding me back. I can go as far and as long as I want.
Yeah.
And so my original trip was going to be 3 months from Siem Reap to Bali and back.
Okay.
But then, thanks to YouTube, I started watching videos, and the trip got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I just finally set out.
Yeah. I mean, what an extreme health conscious thing to do. A lot of us just go on diets and we go for walks. I mean, I am not riding a bike across the world.
Well, and I think one thing that people don't realize is where Scott's ridden as far as India, even Cambodia, Thailand,
Vietnam,
Laos.
yeah.
Meaning great places, love them to death, but it's not America. It's not, the roads are not
The conditions
designed,
are extremely
yeah.
harsh.
It's actually because basically, you get a 30-day visa. Some places you get more, you can extend, whatever. But every 30 days, a new language, a new culture,
Yeah.
new food, new beer, new money,
Ice cream.
new ice cream, my favorite food.
Riding a bike is crazy, but so fun, so cool. You get to meet the locals at their level, and I would imagine it's fantastic. Yeah.
I think because most tourists go like on buses or on tours,
Yeah.
and then you have people that go on motorbikes in those places, and then you have even less people that go on bicycle. So I think as a cyclist, you're not very threatening. In fact, you look pretty vulnerable.
True.
So it's very easy for people to approach you
Yeah.
or to offer things. And,
Yeah.
I mean, I've had everything from places to stay to drinks.
Now, were you escorted by some military on a bike?
In Bangladesh, I had police escort. I only had a 2-week visa, and I had police escort the entire 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So every 15 kilometers, I got two new police. One guy driving generally, and then one guy with a shotgun in the back. And when they said that they wanted me to feel comfortable.
Okay.
And this was right after the bombings in Sri Lanka,
Okay.
like a month or two after. And in 2017, they had bombings that killed some tourists in Dhaka. And I think Bangladesh was one of my favorite countries. The people were so nice, except the drivers. But they get such a bad rap that I think they just want to eliminate any negative publicity. So to avoid anything happening to me, they just followed me the entire 2 weeks.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's nice. Yeah.
If I wanted to go to dinner, I would go downstairs to the hotel and say, "Oh, I want to go to dinner." They go, "Okay, let us call the police. You come and pick me up."
It's like the President of the United States.
Right, that's our Secret Service.
That's our Secret
One place.
Service.
And they knew where to eat, so that also helped.
True.
And when you needed money or a SIM card, you get first in line. So they had some perks. Well, one day I went to a Chinese restaurant. It was on the second floor. And I was escorted up by 4 cops with shotguns.
Oh my God.
And I felt like I was a mafia informant, like in New York City. So, in the beginning, literally when that first happened, they put 2 police in the room next to me, in the guest house I was at, and I couldn't really tell if I was being kidnapped or if I didn't know what was going on. And
You
it's
just
like,
went with it.
I was 8 miles from India. It's like, I wake up in the morning, I'm getting the hell out of Dodge. I'm going back to India. But I talked to a guy that convinced me that said what they were doing, and it's like, okay.
Because
And I was
sometimes you
so
don't
happy.
know.
No,
And we've been in situations like that. You just get on and you get in and you go because
Yeah.
you can't communicate or
Did
speak
you ask
their
him? Did you
language.
say, "Do you know who I am?" Or do you think of
famous.
somebody else?
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because obviously they were looking online about me,
Oh.
the police in the beginning, because
Okay.
they were asking questions like, and the police, they didn't have uniforms or like guns. These were the higher ups. And so you couldn't tell like if they were just cops or anybody. And one guy, he was asking me, he goes, "Well, are you here on your own? Are you doing an assignment for anybody?" Like, he goes, a magazine or a newspaper?
okay.
Because I think he looked and saw I was a photographer. And so maybe they thought, is he here for some other reason than what he
Yeah.
what he says? It's
Yeah.
like, well, look at me and all the stuff on my bike. I doubt it.
Yeah.
Well, they were going to kidnap you and hold you for ransom because you're so
Yeah.
famous.
Yeah.
Well, I did. Well, there's 2 locks on the doors, and the way you lock your door is you get a padlock, and then when you leave, you put the padlock on the outside, and then you put it on the inside, and then there is another lock. Well, I unlocked the padlock in the morning, and I opened the door, and it wouldn't budge. Well, my heart just stopped because I thought, I am being kidnapped. I had no idea.
Again, this is the great thing about our lifestyle, because we wouldn't have met you if we had not been traveling the world, which we love to do.
Right.
But then if we're not in our van and traveling and keeping track of each other and becoming friends, I wouldn't have known that you were here. We wouldn't have known
No.
you. And we're in a position that we can cross paths
We-
or make it happen.
We might have actually passed on the road.
We
You
might
never know.
have.
And so that's where social media for traveling, the way we travel, especially just like you too, we're in and out, we're moving, so we're not in one spot where you can kind of make friends, where you get their text number or whatever, but social media then opens that all up. So
And for us traveling around the way we do, we have met so many people and then continue to meet up again with them in other parts of the world. And some friends we met in India because we met them here, but they were in India, and now you're here. And why, this is what we love about what we do. And as you do too, you have so many people that you have met.
So when you go from Alaska to Patagonia, then we're going to fly in, because that'll be the end of your trip, right?
Right, Patagonia.
Yeah.
All right.
Swing around.
Or you could drive the van down there.
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
true,
We drive the
because
van down
we
there.
are going to the Baja, so we could keep going.
We'll drive 2 down, and then you'll be done with your bike trip, and you'll do van life.
There you
Right
go.
back up.
I couldn't miss up on the opportunity of crossing paths. I mean,
Yeah, we were so
when
close.
we were that close, and like we just got. I mean, we have wheels, we have gas, we can get there.
Well, plus we biked like 5 miles so we feel like a kinship here, so.
You do bike, yeah.
Yeah. So thanks so much for doing the interview with you, and it was so fun to see you
It's great to
again.
see you.
Yeah.
And we'll see you again, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We
I knew it
will.
would happen someplace.
Yeah.
And
Well,
probably
we-
again, hopefully in a foreign country once COVID's
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for
Okay.
watching, guys.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boys.